Now, we often hear about reverse racism now.
There's no such thing as reverse racism. There's no such thing as reverse racism. You can only be a racist if you have the power to institutionalize what you're doing to people who are different from you. What we're calling reverse racism is natural reaction to being treated unfairly on the basis of somebody else's ignorance. Now, don't ever let anybody say to you or about anyone around you that people don't like that person because of the color of their skin. That isn't the reason white people don't like people of color. They don't like people of color because they don't understand about skin color. And they don't understand that we all are descendants of somebody who looked like your mother. And it's time to change the White House to the President's house. This is ridiculous to call the place where the President of the United States lives the White House. It sends the wrong message. It says, I remember when Richard Nixon said to a group of reporters, I'm trying to save the White House for you white people. That says it all. And at that moment I thought, well, wait a minute. Now this is something that has to be changed, and it has to be changed. Nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. It's time to change the name of the White House to the President's house or the President's residence, which has a nice ring to it, don't you think? Well, I'm going to get lots of angry responses to that one. And I understand that. But I'm reading a book right now. Everybody that's watching this has to read this book on tyranny. 20 things that we've learned over the last 100 years in this country that have put us in the position we're in now and what we can do about it. Everybody has to read this book. They should read this book first, and then they should read The Myth of Race by Robert Wald Sussman. And once you've read The Myth of Race, you will never, ever again go along with the idea that there are 3 or 4 or 5 different races. It was a lie made up by the people who ran the Spanish Inquisition. And before that, there were different colors, but race had nothing to do. There was only one race, the human race. We made that whole thing up. It's time to get rid of it. We have the power to do that. This country got ready for World War II in about 6 months. And you're telling me that we can't destroy racism? White people created racism. Anything you create, you can destroy. God created human beings, the human race, and they started out black women. White people created racism. Human beings created racism. It's time to get over it.
Today, most urban sectors, especially Milwaukee, remains hyper-segregated. Why is it taking so long, or why doesn't it seem like we can move the button on diversity in neighborhoods?
Because the people who have the power in this country are the people who have the money. And the people who have the money are going to decide where people live. You need to realize that there are more children attending segregated schools in the United States today than there were previous to Brown versus Board of Education. And that's a fact. You need to realize that it is not the intent of white people to let this situation change in favor of anyone but themselves. And right now, white people are really frightened. If you don't understand the destruction of Planned Parenthood offices, and you don't understand the wall that we're going to build on the southern border of the United States, you haven't read the book The Birth Dearth by Ben Wattenberg. Ben Wattenberg was a brilliant Jewish man who was a member of the American Enterprise Institute. And he wrote a book, the first paragraph of which says, the main problem confronting the United States today is there aren't enough white babies being born in this country. He was an advisor to presidents of the United States. He wrote the book in 1987. He says if we don't change this and change it rapidly, white people will lose their numerical majority in this country, and this will no longer be a white man's land. Now, I'm not misrepresenting this. I'm telling you almost exactly what he says. He says there are 3 things we can do to solve this. Number 1, we could pay women to have babies, as they have been doing in Western European nations for years. Then he says, and these are his words, not mine, unfortunately, we would have to pay women of all colors to have babies, so we don't want to do that. He says the second thing we could do is increase the number of legal immigrants that are allowed into this country every year. Then once again he says, unfortunately, the vast majority of those wanting to come to this country today are people of color, so we don't want to do that. The third thing he says, and women had better pay attention to this, 60% of the fetuses that are aborted every year are white. If we could keep that 60% alive, that would solve our birth dearth. Does that sound like racism to you? And if it doesn't, I want to know why it doesn't. If it doesn't, you don't understand what racism is. And I think it does.
Right. A lot of people don't understand the trauma associated with race and racism. Can you talk a little bit about the trauma associated with?
The trauma associated with it,
Yeah.
one of the main traumas is it tells white people that they are superior because of the lack of melanin in their skin. And then they find out suddenly that we've got a black president. That's traumatic. That's where the trauma is. Living a lie, finding out the truth is traumatic. Finding out now, recently, that within 30 years, white people will be in the numerical minority in this country is going to be traumatic. And that's the reason we have to solve this problem, and we have to solve it now. I will ask folks tonight, how many of you black folks want to get even with all white people? And that's what white people are quite certain blacks are going to want to do, is get even with all white people. And nobody will raise their hand. And then I'll say, how many of you want to get even with one or two? Every hand will go up, and you know why, and so do I. White people are scared to death right now, particularly white males. They're scared to death that they are going to lose their power in the future. And they are. But if you want to get ready for the future, if you want to be treated well in the future, treat others well in the present. What we do in the present constructs the future. What we have done in the past, we can learn from that. And we'd better learn from that. Those who forget the mistakes of the past are doomed to repeat them. And when you read this book, you'll realize that that's exactly what we're doing. We're repeating the mistakes that we have made in the past because we aren't teaching about these mistakes in the present. We are not teaching history that is true. We aren't teaching social studies that is true. We aren't even teaching true geography, for God's sake.
When we hear, when I hear people say that they're not racist and things like that, and we talk about building racial harmony in this country, I don't think I'll see it in my lifetime. Can you predict in the near future or far future when we will ever have racial harmony?
Oh
in this
yeah,
country?
in 30 years, white people will have found out that they have no choice but to get along with those who are different from themselves. I'm not willing. I'd love to wait, but I can't. At my age, I'm not going to be here in 30 years. But we could change this situation if we chose to. During the Second World War, we called the Japanese, and you'll pardon me, but this is what we called them: slant-eyed little yellow. We didn't say that about the Germans. After the war, we rebuilt Germany and Japan, and we get along beautifully with the Japanese. That was in 1945 that we finally won that war. How many years ago was that? Figure that out quickly.
I'm not a math person, but
You're not a math person, but you know it wasn't that far.
Right.
And it didn't take 50 years for us to have peace with the Japanese and the Germans, even though we dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan. The Japanese hadn't killed 10 million people. Nowhere near that. We didn't drop any bombs on Germany, any atomic bombs on Germany. They were a different kind of people. We couldn't afford to do that. We killed how many Japanese people with 2 atomic bombs? And they forgave us. You want to talk about forgiveness? You want to talk about changing this thing? I cannot understand how Japanese people can stand the sight of any of us, and yet they do. I cannot understand why black people who have been subjected to the ugliness that they've been subjected to in this country can get up every morning and go to work among us and not be absolutely furious. And I don't understand why we allow white people to behave the way they do. I don't understand that. And my 3rd graders, after they'd gone through the exercise, couldn't understand it and wouldn't tolerate it. And when they went up to junior high and a junior high teacher used the N-word, one of my former students said, "If you're going to use that word, I'm going to go out in the hall until you stop using it, because we don't use that word in this school." That was a 7th grader who told his teacher off. When we have enough students who are willing to confront people who are making racist, sexist, ageist, homophobic statements, we're going to be better off. We have got to stop tolerating the intolerable. If it's intolerable for my black cousins, and every black person on this earth is one of my cousins, if it's intolerable for them, it's intolerable for me. I will not tolerate it. I will not tolerate it. That is not that. I am required not to tolerate that kind of treatment for the people who are related to me. And that's every person on the face of the earth. If your ignorance is such that you'll mistreat somebody because of your ignorance about the color of their skin, don't do it around me. Number one, I've been threatened with death lots of times. Now I say, go for it, fool. My husband died 4 years ago. Being with him would not be a bad thing for me. Death is not the worst thing that can happen to you. Living a worthless, useless life is much worse than dying.
God will literally bless Jane Elliott for always spitting out the truth. God will literally bless that woman because that woman knows the truth and she don't hide away from the truth. You can hear her clearly stated that there is nothing, don't let anybody deceive you. There is nothing like reverse racism. You know, the moment black people say anything, the next thing that some of these white folks will always say is, oh, black people too are racist, or black people too are racist. Now, this is their own fellow white woman that knows the truth, coming out to spit out the truth. Anyways, I have other clip I'm about to roll out for you guys because class is in section. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Credit to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. And I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And yes, with that being said, guys, with no further ado, let's dive right into this video properly, and I'll come back with commentaries. Let's go watch, guys.
Man, I tell you what, nothing makes racist white people more pissed off than me, a white person, trying to educate about racism and trying to educate about what white privilege is and all these things. And it's so funny because these same people will argue with me till they are blue in the face about how they're not racist and we don't live in a racist institution and black and brown people have it so easy and racism doesn't exist anymore. But then they will turn around and say the most racist, ignorant, vile shit you've ever heard in your life. The disconnect is amazing. And this is why I make content like this, because it's so important. Because we do live in a racist institution, and we are all raised in racism as white people. This is simply a fact. And the crazy part about it is every one of us knows this. Even the ones who will sit there and fight with me to the death about it and act like it doesn't exist. Y'all know white people are racist. Y'all know about the casual racism, the casual microaggressions that we are raised in, no matter where we live in this United States of America. And this is why I will never stop. I will never stop trying to educate as a white person about racism and how we need to learn. We need to evolve. We need to do better. It's almost as if they feel like admitting to a racist institution or admitting to racism makes them this evil, terrible person. And so they would rather double down than to grow and be a good person. And that's so bad, because all that says to me is that you have a small mind and a cowardly soul. And I wish better for you than that, truly, because everything in your life will get better when you stop being so ignorant.
One thing that I've noticed about racism is that a lot of white people get far angrier at being called racist than they do at seeing racism happening right in front of them, because somebody can describe experiencing racism and the reaction is often, I need more context. Are you sure that's what they meant? Maybe they misunderstood. Everything is racist nowadays. But call a white person racist and suddenly people get emotional, offended, defensive, furious, writing essays, demanding apologies, acting like they're the victim now. And I think the reason that happens is because a lot of white people see racism as evil monsters in a white herd. So instead of seeing racism as something that they can unconsciously participate in, benefit from, excuse or normalize, they treat the accusation itself like some sort of unforgivable character assassination, which is why conversations about racism become so impossible sometimes. Because the truth is, white people are more committed to protecting their self-image than they are to listening to what minorities are actually trying to explain. And if being called racist upsets you more than the racism itself, then you are proving the point, and you should probably take a second and reflect really hard.
Okay, it's actually necessary that we all agree real fast that racism didn't exist and then it did, and we were the ones who created it on purpose for the explicit purpose of exploiting an entire demographic and people group that was not our own. And the biggest thing that was separating us from the people we wanted to exploit was skin color. And we chose to draw that line. We chose to draw that line and create that line and that difference for the purpose of exploiting people.
People sometimes ask me why I, a white woman, spend so much time talking about race and issues of race, especially when a lot of those things particularly impact Black people rather than white people. My answer is pretty simple. Racism is not just a Black problem. It's a white problem. And white people talk about it because, to be quite honest, we're the ones that created it and maintained it and still benefit from it. I started digging into this when I was reeling from the Trump presidency, both the first time and more so when he came in the door the second time and immediately started trashing our country and our institutions. I kept asking myself, how did we get here? I thought maybe if I could find that tipping point, I could see how we could do something to fix it. I don't know why I thought I might be able to figure that out, since a lot of smart people have been looking at that before me, but sometimes it takes a set of fresh eyes, and I thought maybe it wouldn't hurt anything if I took a dip in and tried to see what was going on. So I dug back through history, through the Civil Rights Movement, back through Jim Crow, through the Civil War, back to the Revolutionary War. And I never found a time when this country was not steeped in racism. From the very beginning, this system was designed to keep white people comfortable enough and prejudiced enough that we wouldn't join forces with Black people to challenge abusive laws. That was the blueprint back in 1609 when slaves were first brought here. And that was the blueprint in 2025, right now. And here's an important truth. Even though you and I didn't personally own any enslaved people or write any segregation laws, we still benefit from the systems they built. We get the jobs, we get the loans, we get the leniency, the safety, the benefit of the doubt, just because of our skin color. And that's why white people need to talk about race, because pretending not to see it just makes it stronger, like an old tree that's been digging its roots in forever, and we don't question its presence. It's just always been there, strong and proud. If we don't name what's happening, we will never stop it. I'm not an expert, but I'm an avid learner, and I'd like you to join me, and I'll keep sharing what I find. If this helped you see something more clearly, one share can help someone else see it clearly too. And if you want to help me keep making these, you can chip in at ko-fi.com/Kelly Snyder. Links in my bio.
Hi, my name's Kylie, and here are some things that white people say without realizing they're being racist. I moved a lot growing up. Sometimes I was in rural, homogenous white areas, and other times it was diverse urban areas. But regardless, here are some things that I've heard. Number one, coming in hot, we have when a white person is telling a story and they mention the race of the person for no reason. That waitress, and then mention how she was Hispanic as if that somehow has something to do with her character. Number two, telling a story about someone from a different race and then doing an accent to make the story come to life. Number three, saying the N-word in rap music or other songs because it's going too fast to skip it. Number four, thinking that their lack of skill when it comes to sports is because they're white and not because, in fact, they are unathletic. Yes, they have actually said this. I've had a white boy tell me he would have gone to the NBA if he was Black. Number five, assuming that hearing people in public speaking a different language means they're talking badly about you. Specifically, nail techs or waitstaff, because white people think everything is about them. Like for part two.
Hey girls, it's happy Monday. God, guys, I am so tired of racist white people. So tired of it. Because if people marching around with Confederate flags doesn't bother you, then congratulations, you're exactly who I'm talking about. Because apparently this past weekend, on what was supposed to be America's 250th birthday, the little white supremacist group Patriot Front decided they were going to put on their khaki collection 2026 and go try to intimidate people. But sorry, not sorry. You are not brave if you cover your face in public while performing performing Timu fascism. I literally don't even understand how these people think that that's intimidating. It's pathetic. Like when I saw it, my first reaction was just repulsion. And then I was like, what a bunch of clowns. I would be so embarrassed if I actually knew any of these people in real life. Oh, and also the fact that y'all out there flying the Confederate flag, the symbol of, oh yeah, we already got our asses kicked once, but y'all are supposed to be the future. It doesn't just stop at these silly little displays of your white nationalism. It's all this crap with people like Chud the Builder saying things like chimping out and monkeys to black people. And just all of your racism. I just don't know if you understand how stupid the rest of us think you are. Because this just in, science, black people are not chimps and they're not monkeys. I know this is really gonna make your buttholes pucker, but white people are not any less related to chimps than black people are. The entire racist insult is not only morally reprehensible, it's scientifically stupid. Humans, I feel like I'm doing the first grade teacher here. Humans and modern chimpanzees shared a common ancestor millions and millions of years ago, okay? Then one species went on to become modern day chimps, and the other species went on to become Homo sapiens, humans. So that means that chimps and humans are more like distant evolutionary cousins, but that black and white people and all people on Earth are all equally related to said chimps. Because all living people on planet Earth today are all Homo sapiens. As in, we're all part of the same species. Sometimes it's like, I wonder, do you white people even know this? And y'all, I'm talking about racist white people, okay? So take your ass off your shoulders, all right? Black people are Homo sapiens, white people are Homo sapiens, Latinos are Homo sapiens. All humans are Homo sapiens. All part of the same species. This is where I'm really gonna ruin your day. Homo sapiens all came from Africa. This is not even up for dispute or debate. It's not. Go read a book. All human life as we know it today originated from Africa, which means that the original humans, because of where Africa, y'all don't know your geography, but because of where Africa is really close to the equator, so it's like really hot there. And so when your body experiences heat, you know, Jethro, like when you get a suntan, when you go down to the panhandle of Florida in the summer, that's your body's way of trying to protect itself from the sun. That means that those original humans would have had very dark skin to protect themselves from said sun. So the whole white people are superior human beings fantasy falls apart immediately, because what white skin, I'm not talking about the social construct of white, but what white skin came from is when said Homo sapiens left Africa and moved north away from the equator and no longer needed said level of sun protection. And in fact, they needed to let in more vitamin D. So their body said, oh, let's stop producing so much melanin white skin. That's the great biological story behind whiteness. It's not superiority. It is a biological adaptation to the sun. No, you don't have to believe me. You just take yourself over to any local hospital. A black person can receive blood from a white person. A white person can receive organ donations and transplants from a black person, or any race of person can receive blood and organs, assuming that they're a blood type match, from any other human. Now, if you try to stick chimp organs or chimp blood inside a white person, a black person, a Latino, an Asian, any of those people, you're going to have a medical emergency on your hands. You know why? Because they're not part of the same species. So do you see how stupid it sounds when you say black people are chimping out or that they're chimps or monkeys? Because if they were, they would be able to take organs and blood from chimps. I mean, it's like, God, y'all, it's like you should be paid for your level of stupidity. And you racists, you already know this. This is why when all else fails and your back is against the wall, you reach for the emergency card, the emergency brake, the N-word, you throw the hard ER. It's not an argument or intelligence, and it sure then hell is not toughness. It's you trying to invoke a power system where, hey, do you guys remember when my people owned your people? And the irony of you calling NIGGER to people is though you guys rail against every minority on earth, you literally, even your insults are borrowed from other people because the word Negro, it comes from other language. Anyway, you're so unoriginal, even your insults are borrowed. You throw that word around, it's an attempt for you to invoke centuries of slavery, segregation, lynching, humiliation, and white domination. It's your way of saying, hey, know your place. This is so insane because it'd be those very same white people that will turn around and say, we don't need DEI. We don't need majority minority districts because racism isn't a thing in America. Pick a lane. Because y'all can't Patriot Front, MAGA, y'all can't be out here saying that racism isn't a thing while you're out in public performing acts of racism. And don't even get me started about the vile shit that you racist white people say when you see mixed people, right? When you see like a white girl dating a black man or vice versa, or their kids. Y'all are filthy. The things that you say, mud sharking and calling their children an abomination, acting like, what does that stupid girl say? Like, bluebirds go with bluebirds and redbirds go with red. Ugh. Acting like people falling in love and creating new human life is some attack on civilization. But you know why y'all get mad when you see that? It's because if white men, if white women, if white people in general are supposed to be so superior, then why would anybody choose anybody but a white person to breed with, date, fall in love, make children, any and all of the above? But you're mad because the fact that people are allowed to choose their partners and sometimes they don't choose other white people pisses you off because it reminds you that your sick, twisted lie of pure whiteness is dying off. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but this country was not white before Europeans got here. Indigenous people were already here, enslaved Africans were forced here, immigrants from all over the world came here and built America. In the future, no matter how many masks you wear, no matter how many coordinating khaki collections you wear and marching through the streets, we're knockoff fascism. America simply will not remain majority white forever. It's just not going to happen. And that's the part that kills me. Please answer this question if you are one of these white supremacists, okay? Because I know y'all watch my videos because you like to get in my comments. But here's the thing. If white privilege isn't a real thing, what the hell are you so afraid of losing? And the answer is simple. You guys are terrified because the mask has slipped. People see it. White Jesus was a lie. White Adam and Eve was a lie. White supremacy in general was always a lie. It was a fairy tale myth you told yourselves, racist white people, so that you could pretend that you were special, God ordained, more civilized, more deserving. It was always a lie. Here's the truth. Science doesn't support you. Your own Bible doesn't support you. Oh, and also just a fun little fact to really piss you off. If Adam and Eve really were a thing, first off, they would have been in modern day Iraq, which means they would have been brown. And second off, if they were the mother and father of life, then that means that all of their descendants came from their children, which means that all black, white, Asian, Latino, everybody, we're all related. So riddle me that. You guys can dress it up in khakis and do your little silly chants and all of that. But the truth is, all of that is just rooted in fear. Because black people and immigrants and interracial families, none of those people were your enemies. Your enemy is the lie that you have been told about your racial hierarchy, your white supremacy. You're not superior. You're just scared that once the lie dies, you'll have to actually earn your respect like everybody else.
Being racist is proof of a low IQ, and we need to start treating it as such. There is no reason in the year 2025 we let people sit in our face and be like, yeah, you're better than me because of the color of your skin. Truly. Like, why do we even still have these conversations? I don't even understand why we give people platforms and allow them to speak about these things, because it's like we're going in circles and circles and circles about something that fundamentally does not matter, that they've made us they've made matter in order to divide us. And so many of these people are either brainwashed or so fucking hateful and unempathetic that they genuinely believe that race is the end all be all. Like, I would love to have racists in my comments right now. Tell me what valid reasons you have for thinking that you are better than any other race because you're white, or because you're any other race. Like, I believe this goes with every race who believes that they're above any minority. But at the end of the day, in America at least, white people made this country. The rules were built for them, by them. So we can acknowledge that systematic racism is real. And we need to stop acting like these racists are just not fucking stupid. Like, why do you think, like, fundamentally it's not logical in the slightest?
I could write essays on the way that white people are taught to be complicit in, like, racism as they grow up. There's a lot to unpack there, from, like, the overt stuff to the not so overt stuff. But all I'm gonna say is that it's no coincidence that with the rise of AI-generated videos, a lot of outrage bait that you see on social media is AI-generated videos of people of color doing things that are meant to enrage a white audience. And it's no coincidence that white Americans are so desensitized to violence against Black Americans. that they have less of an emotional reaction to a Black American dying than they do to, like, a video of a dog passing away. Or what kind of behavior we consider aggressive and what kind of behavior we consider threatening differs depending on who is enacting it, and differs a lot based on the perceived race of the person enacting it. We are meant to think of, like, white first world society as being like some kind of utopia where bad things can never happen unless you deserve them. And therefore, everyone who is marginalized in white first world society must somehow deserve it.
The thing about white privilege, and I'm going to touch your hand when I say this, so hold my hand, is that the struggles and trauma you went through suck. But they didn't happen because you were white. And that's the thing. I will go through things in every space I occupy on every continent in every country that you won't understand because I look like this and you look like that. Example, we both might be broke by the end of the day, but when you popped out the womb, your mother's first thought was not, what is a racially ambiguous, gender ambiguous name I can give you that will give you a leg up in life? Your mom just gave you a name. And I can explain to you all of the well-researched, well-backed up ways that privilege has colored your life in a way that you are yet to understand. But before you listen to me, you will decide that you hate me because that is easier. And that is a privilege that you get to have. You get to maneuver the world with your anger and hate based on your trauma without ever thinking about the nuances, much less living them. And that is the privilege that you choose to not understand.
One of the biggest tools the white supremacists use to control the general population is jealousy. Not just fear of minorities, but fear of minorities being more successful than you as a white person. Because implicitly, deep down, they know that they have a significant advantage over every single immigrant, over Black and brown people in the US. Because of factors like racism, all you have to do is look to the government and see how white and how conservative it is. But they cannot accept the fact that somebody who came to America 5 years ago didn't know any English and was able to work themselves into society, get a good paying job, and take care of their family is more successful than them. They can't accept the fact that there are people who have come to America and done better in a system that was built for them. That is why I believe that a large portion of racism and bigotry in general is rooted in jealousy. It's not just about white people wanting to hoard the resources, it's about white people wanting to hoard them so other people don't get them. They would rather see people of color fail than another white person succeed, because it's never been about success, it's been about preventing others from doing well. That sort of spite is what keeps them going.
It's not shocking at all to see the people who are so quick to defend white supremacists are Christian. And am I saying every Christian is a white supremacist? No, but racism and American Christianity are like this. So when we are talking about criticizing religion, race always has to be a part of it, especially when we're talking about the United States, because it is impacting literally everything. And if you are denying that, you are either in one of these groups, defending one of these groups, or in denial and don't know the history about it in the United States. Evangelicalism has always been so intertwined with white supremacy, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, go look up the reaction from evangelicals when they tried to desegregate public schools. It's always been there. So when you're seeing somebody in comment sections being racist or quick to defend white supremacists, and they have a little cross by their username, or they have a little cross in their bio, like a ton of the people in my comment sections being so angry that I criticized white supremacists, this isn't a coincidence. They are attracted to Christianity for very real reasons. And if you are a Christian and you are denying that, you are part of the problem. So yeah, none of this should shock anybody because this has not changed at all.
Anyways, welcome back, guys, and thank you so much for watching. And I hope you guys literally enjoyed every single clip I was able to roll out for you guys. Okay, I really do appreciate all of that. Reason why I actually brought this topic is for us to also educate each other, and I want you as a Black person watching, drop it in the comment section. Do you believe in reverse racism? Because why I'm asking this question is I've literally seen some Black creators also saying, oh, Black people too are racist. There is reverse racism. Anybody can be racist towards anybody. And of which, last time I checked, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that, because racism is not just what you will just wake up one morning and start doing. The white people created the system. They invented the system. And at the end of the day, they want us to believe that there is something called reverse racism. So let me know in the comment section if you believe or not. Let's first of all understand the definition of racism. Racism is discriminations, and who have been discriminated? Black people. Who always get discriminated? Black people. Who suffers more? Black people. Who do not get a particular job because of how your name sound, kind of? Black people. Who went through Jim Crow? Black people. Who went to segregation? Black people. So it is discrimination or unequal treatment directed at people because of their race or perceived race. I repeat, racism is discrimination or unequal treatment directed at people because of their race or perceived race. It can also be referred to belief or system that treat one racial group as inherently superior or inferior to another. Now we have different takes on several forms of racism, where we have the individual racism, where a person express racist belief or treats someone unfairly because of their race, such as using racial slurs or refusing to hire someone based on race. We have the institutional or systemic racism, where police, practice, or social system produce or reinforce racial inequality, even if no individual intends to discriminate. Example might include disparity in housing, education, employment, or criminal justice that result from institutional practice. Then we have the internalized racism, where when one individuals absorb and accept negative stereotype about their own race group. In every language and most dictionaries, racism include prejudice and discrimination based on race, regardless of who is targeted at. In some academic and social justice contexts, racism is defined more narrowly as racial prejudice combined with systemic or institutional power. So there is nothing like reverse. I don't want to even hear that. It's not existing. It does not exist as reverse racism. So for those of you that are highly racist people that think that, oh, everybody is racist, I have it at the back of your mind now that it's not everybody that is racist. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Credit to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And yes, guys, with that being said, with no further ado, I do like I always say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys. Mwah.